document automation sits as an integrated module directly within inside of Sage 200. In order for this to work, though, you will need one Sicon scan and view license. So please refer to our website for more information. Now, in the first instance, there's the ability to define which of your suppliers you want to enable for document automation purposes. We default it to everyone. And then, as you can see, at supply level, you then have the ability to disable accordingly. Now, the other thing that we can do is define again at supplier level what additional information that we do then wish to check. So that includes things like a second reference number, a purchase order number, if you're using standard Sage purchase order processing. That also then follows through with a GRN. If you're using Sicon projects, again, we can check if there's a project number. And as you'll see, there's also the ability then to validate against existing transactions and file attachments. There's also the ability to check against the invoice age. As an example, if you want to highlight and flag the fact that you're receiving an invoice that's over 90 days, we can do exactly that. We can also define what your acceptable tolerance level is as a variance between the invoice and the purchase order value, whether that's a percentage or a variance value. And then we can also define the nominal account where that variance is going to go through to. So there will be some upfront time needed to be spent in order to train the system. But of course, the value then is that you're saving a huge amount of time having to key in manually those invoices. So this is the document automation screen. As you can see at the top, we've got various tabs. Refresh, pretty self-explanatory. The Ready tab is just flagging to me that all of the invoices are checked out okay and are ready to process directly into Sage 200. We then have the needing attention. So again, they're going to flag and show me where there's a validation issue. Where we've identified in the background that the supplier is one that we need to do a GRN against, again, that will flag if we haven't done a GRN back in Sage. If it hasn't validated, it will flag there. And we've also got the ability to mark an invoice in query, which means it's not going to be posted directly into Sage. Various fields in order to filter, so whether that's by a supplier or by a document type, etc. And then simply all I'm going to do here is I'm going to upload a document. So in this case, it's going to be an invoice. There's also the ability to upload credit notes from your supplier as well as customer purchase orders. So there we go. There isn't a training model set in the background. So all we're going to do is we're going to teach it where to look for that information. So if we come to the training tab, you'll see that this is where we show the system where to look for the data. So invoice number, this we're telling it that's where we need to look. And clearly, I'm sure you have different suppliers that have their information in different places, which is why we need to teach each supplier separately. So we've got an invoice number, we've got the line item code and description. Now, don't worry, you're not going to need to teach every single line. So if you do have invoices where you've got a number of lines, as you'll see in a second, we are literally just teaching at the first line, and then the system can pick up any line following that. So there we go. I'm just going to say, yeah, my second line is exactly the same. And then finally, all we're doing is teaching it where to look for that net value, the VAT, and then finally that total gross. And then all we're doing is creating our training model. So as I said, next time we then get an invoice from Ernie Swinton, it knows specifically where to look for that information. So it's created that training model for us. And you'll see that everything is validated all okay. So it's now sitting in our Ready tab. So there's a couple of ways in which we have the ability to process this, whether it's manually or automatically. And once I click process automatically, that's now going to disappear straight into Sage 200. And as you can see, I can now right click into that document. So again, one of the advantages of this sitting inside of Sage 200 is that I can drill down to see the supplier, whether it's the amend supplier screen or view supplier. I can actually drill straight into the transaction inquiry screen. And there's the invoice that we've literally just processed, and we have our extra column, which then allows us to be able to see that document. And then at the bottom of the screen, we have our standard Sicon scan and view licenses. So I still got the capacity to be able to add additional documents here, or if I just simply click on view document, there's the invoice that we've just scanned in. So it's all stored electronically, all in one place against the supplier and against that transaction specifically. Again, another advantage of this sitting directly inside of Sage 200 is that I also have the ability to drill down to either view or amend the original purchase order. So because this invoice was attached to a purchase order, I can drill straight into it. And again, there we go. There's the purchase order sitting directly inside of Sage 200. So what we're now going to do is upload another invoice just to show you how quickly and easily the system has learnt. And it's just simply looking at that training model that we created a moment ago, just to check everything out okay. And it's going to check things like the VAT number, the bank account number, IBAN, email address, website. So it's checking all of that information. We can set up a scoring system in the background to identify exactly how many things we want it to check. As you can see, it's validated fully. So everything is validated okay. It's identified everything. So that's been a huge amount of time saving involved, which means I don't have to be entering and keying all of that in manually. So you saw earlier on that I could process it automatically, but indeed, if I did actually want to make any changes to that, whether that was splitting the nominal account or indeed whether that's perhaps adding a project if we are using projects, you'll see we are going straight into a standard Sage screen. And so as I mentioned, if we do want to change the nominal account or split it, we can do, or indeed if we are using Sicon projects, this is where we have that capacity to be able to make changes. Again, we can still add documents in here if we wanted to, and then simply all we're doing is we're saving, and again, that allows us to be able to post it directly into Sage 200. And there we go, we now have, once again, our completed invoice. Any further information, please refer through to our help and user guides or have a chat with your Sage business partner.